Now, we are turning our attention to camogie, and I'm delighted to say Siobhán McGrath, the captain of UL, and Ruairi Walsh, the manager of UL, are with us this morning to talk to us about what should have been an interesting ASHBOURNE Cup semi-final weekend for them, but in the end wasn't. Siobhán, you guys ended up going to the ASHBOURNE Cup anyway and showing up in your gear. What was the response that you got from people on the ground when you were there who were aware of your situation?
Yeah, geez, firstly, would like to congratulate TUD. I think they're getting lost in all of this. It was their first ASHBOURNE to win, so we'd like to actually just say congratulations to them first. But we were kind of probably blown away with the support we got from everyone. I suppose that heard about our situation. But I suppose the most disappointing thing is we got up there and no one from the CCO would engage with us. No one came up to us from the CCO, which that was probably the most disappointing thing of it all when we got up there. So yeah, even though we got great support, they still stayed silent over the whole thing.
So sorry, just for people who are coming to this and learning all the new acronyms, what's the CCO?
So the CCO is, I suppose, it's the committee over the whole college camogie.
Right.
Yeah, so that's who they are. So they run all the college competitions. Okay.
Rory, good morning to you.
Morning.
Can you... a lot of people are coming to this story late. They might have seen a little bit on the telly at the weekend with Ursula Jacob and Donal Logue talking about it. So can you bring us right back to the very start of this? The ASHBOURNE Cup is obviously... the final was on at the weekend, and it's a semi-final weekend, so semi-finals and final were on, and 4 teams were qualifying. How does the qualifying process actually work for that?
Yeah, so Ger, it's straightforward. There's 2 groups of 4, and the top 2 teams qualified from each group. So in our group, it kind of transpired there were 3 very even teams: TUD, ourselves, and DCU. So with 1 game to go, we realised that if we won our game against Maynooth, we would be in a 3-way tie effectively, and score difference would be vital.
Okay, so it's very straightforward. 4 teams in a group, 3 good teams, and Maynooth, who obviously didn't have a very strong team this year for whatever reason. And at that stage, heading into the final round, so this is back in November, is it?
No, first round was in November.
Right, first round was in November.
And, yeah, final round was just January 31st, so not long ago. Actually, okay. 2 weeks before from today.
And you play everybody just once, so it's 3 games, is it?
Yep. And so going into the last game, we saw clarification as to exactly what the score difference situation was. A table had been published socially online and through CCAO, so we wanted to confirm that was, precise and exact before we played our game. So we were assured that if we won by 33 points, we would qualify.
And as a matter of interest, right, just in the interest of fairness, did you guys get that in writing from the CCO?
Yeah, it was sent out, and DCU got it as well. They were presented with 5 scenarios. What would happen if Maynooth won the game? What would happen if it was a draw? What would happen if we won by 1 to 32 points? What would happen if we won by 33 to, I think it was 51? And if we won by 52 points, we'd have pipped TUD at the top of the group. So that was kind of, a non-runner. But so we really targeted the 33 points, and straight after the game, remarkably, we won by 34, and straight after the game, we were congratulated in person by a representative from the executive that was there. Then very quickly on social media, and the next morning we got an official invitation and congratulations from the CCAO to the ASHBOURNE weekend.
Okay, so Siobhán, that's a big deal. Can you put in context what the ASHBOURNE means for players? Like, I was watching the Anne Dalton documentary on TG Card this week, and like Anne's career is obviously one of the all-time greats, but she's flicking through the books, and the ASHBOURNE Cup weekends are clearly very important to her and her career, notwithstanding everything she's won and how iconic she is in the sport. So this is not something that's small for you guys. Can you just talk to us a little bit about your team and the level of intensity and effort that you guys have made around this competition this year?
Yeah, it's been massive, to be honest. Like ASHBOURNE, I think everyone would agree that's played it. It's just, I'd say it's like a fraction below intercounty, the standard, to be honest, because you're playing with and you're playing against intercounty players, so like our commitment to this competition, like everyone that's has any sort of interest in camogie knows that UL have such a strong tradition in ASHBOURNE in the first place, and like we've been training since, I think Rory probably has this better now, but I think it was September when we started back doing trials and different things like that. So like when we won that match against Maynooth, like we were just absolutely like over the moon, because like we saw clarification that we were through, and we were just so excited because like Ashbourne weekend, I think I said this to someone before, that it's kind of like Fela, you know, the way Fela used to be, like, you know, the mini weekend, like you go up for the weekend with you the closest people that you've become best friends with the people on the team, and like, you know, it's just devastating then when you get told a few days beforehand that you're out. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just hard to even put into words like what's happened here, to be honest.
And Rory, just to clarify then, after you beat Maynooth by 34 points, you're congratulated on qualifying for the semi-finals. And what happens next? At what point do you realise that, no, in fact, you haven't qualified?
So that game was on Tuesday, the 31st of January. And by the Thursday, we had heard that there was discontent and the score difference was being questioned. So I think there was a Zoom set up between our development officer, DCU's development officer, and the chairperson of the CCAO. So we were told at the time that human error was involved. So we thought about it, we chatted amongst management, and we decided that if human error was involved, it was going to be unfair on DCU if they were going to miss out, if it was an error was made with score difference. So we offered at that meeting a playoff, which was rejected, which was their right, I presume. They wanted it to go to the board, as we were told. So we saw clarification as to which board. We asked questions which weren't answered as to what's exactly happening. Or are they investigating the whole group? Or are they just investigating that one game that was played in November between DCU and Maynooth on the 29th of November? That's the one DCU were questioning the score that was sent in for.
As a matter of interest, when you say replay was rejected, do you know who rejected the replay? Or the playoff?
Look, I wasn't in at that meeting, but I know that we offered a playoff. But
right, that was deemed unacceptable by somebody, because it seems like it would have been obviously the right thing to do in this instance. As a matter of interest, what was the score difference? Like, how significant was the human error? Are we led to believe?
We're led to believe it's a 3-point difference.
Right, so you would have needed to score 2 more points.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, but you would have known what to do, and you might have.
Yeah, we would have been aware. We would have been aware of it, and even like in the last 10 minutes, we reached a point. I think it was 13 minutes left. We were on plus 31. So when we reached 33 points, we kind of knew if we don't concede a goal now, we're going to be through. So kind of the mind frame switches a bit. You're dropping your centre back, you know, in front of the full back line, just making sure you don't concede a goal and you're through. So
yeah.
So it seems to have been an issue in the referee's report. Is that the case, Rory?
See, I'm not sure what happened exactly yet because we haven't received any answers. But yeah, that's what we're led to believe. There was a discrepancy between what the referee said originally and what DCU sent in. And then the referee clarified his score the day after we played Maynooth.
What's bonkers to me completely here is the communication and transparency, or lack thereof, in a lot of ways. Is that why this has reached the point now where this story is gaining traction? Because it strikes me, looking from the outside in, that the communication, for whatever reason here, hasn't been maybe what it should have been.
Yeah, well, first of all, as well, like when we found out on Wednesday morning last week, 9:19, we got an email. I have it here. It's 2 lines. Where is it? Sorry, 1 second. So the committee confirms that the result of the DCU-DE versus MU game played on 29th of November is as confirmed by the referees. DCU 620 to MU 4 points. As a result, DCU will advance to the semi-final of the Ashbourne Cup. So that was it. No mention of UL, no mention of anything else. So I just thought that was the only information we had officially. As of yet, that's still the only information we've received. So we don't know how this mix-up happened. We don't know how they came to the conclusion that, you know, us being given official wrong information didn't matter going into our last game. And even every time like we appealed, we just didn't get anywhere with an appeal. So we still have no hearing yet.
In retrospect, is there any way that you could have gone to the DRA in all this? Like, did you need to make a bigger stink now last week? You know, I don't want to in any way blame you for anything, but like, you know, you do what you think you can do, and then it turns out they're saying, no, sorry, that's not enough, and away with you now.
Yeah, so on Thursday morning, so we kind of gave ourselves time to try and get as much information as possible, because when you have to appeal to a rule. But as I read out there was no rule quoted as to how DCU were going through. Like, they didn't quote Rule 7.5 referees reports. There was no rule quoted. So we were trying to stab at the dark, because you're not allowed to send in an appeal without appealing a rule. First of all, actually, we asked clarification. Did DCU actually officially appeal? And we were told they didn't, that they queried and questioned. So I don't know how they got to the THDC without an official appeal sent in. But look, that's another issue as well.
Yeah.
So we saw clarification of that too. But so yeah, we were stabbing in the dark. So we sent in an appeal kind of based on the referee report and home college sending in the score. But all we were told was it was rejected. So then we only got word on that at 11:30 on Thursday night. So we were left then Friday morning, like basically within 24 hours of the Ashbourne Cup. We made contact with the DRA, and they were told that they just would not be able to get an initial hearing in between then and semi-final. So we were in a desperate situation then, because still trying to go down official channels. We had basically nowhere to go to try and get the game postponed, really, to give us time to, figure out how we could go about, getting a hearing for the girls. Like, the one thing every time we met the players, be it at training, and they're asking like what's going on, and you're actually looking them in the eye, and you actually have no answers for them, and we're saying we'll find out for you. We'll get answers. As of yet, like, we haven't been able to get one answer. So we made contact with the CCAO, and they told us to send in another appeal that it'll be considered. So we sent in another appeal on Friday evening, and that was just, again, at 11:30 we got an email basically saying that appeal was not being looked at because we already had one rejected. So I don't know why they gave us information that we could send in another appeal when they just noted it and threw it out straight away.
Siobhán, the talk of amalgamation between the Camogie Association and the GA and the LGFA has probably ratcheted up in the last year or two, but certainly incidents like this probably only serve to highlight the need for the Camogie Association and the GA and the LGFA to become one.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like, I suppose the CCAO are, at the end of the day, like, ruled by the Camogie Association. So, like, you'd have to question the Camogie Association in terms of, are they properly, I suppose, getting the right people involved? Obviously, we know everyone's a volunteer here. Like, no one's getting paid. Like, they're doing this off their own time. But like, you'd have to wonder, like, how well it's actually governed when things like this happen. So you'd imagine if it was all under the one thing, that, well, you'd hope these things sort of wouldn't happen again. Like, but I don't know. Like, it's hard to know how we can come into, I suppose, one organisation when this sort of thing happens. Like, I suppose looking from the hurling point of view and the GA's point of view, you'd wonder, like, why you'd want to, I suppose, all come under the one umbrella when you're listening to these sort of controversies, I suppose.
And when you guys found out that you weren't going to be able to go, Siobhán, what was the atmosphere like at that point? What was the response from the players?
Oh, it was just devastation, to be honest. I think we woke up to Ruairi's message the following morning, and we were actually just couldn't believe that it could end over a text message, if you get me. Like, like, we're all involved in top level sport, and we understand there's highs and there's lows, but like, you expect to be knocked out of a competition on the pitch. Like, you never expect for this all to be dragged out, and that you get a text message one morning, you're looking forward to the weekend and you're getting ready. Next morning you wake up and you're getting a text message actually saying, no, you're out. Like, it was just, everyone was just awful upset. Like, and as well, I suppose the special thing with college camogie is you only get like 4 years to play together, and like, this is a lot of our last year in college. So like, the fact that our college camogie career just ended one morning over text, it was just absolutely, it's just crazy, to be honest. You can't even believe that it could get to this stage.
And what's your recollection of the last 10 minutes when you kind of knew the scoring difference had been reached on the field?
Yeah, I remember, I suppose Ruairi had said to us, don't be counting it up, just play the game as if it was a normal game. But when we had got to the score that we needed, to the 33 points, to be honest, like, we did kind of sit back and just kind of said to ourselves, okay, don't let them score again, because we'd reached the point. So like, we were just kind of making sure that we stayed at the 33 points. Like, but like, when we got to that, then we were like, the final whistle, we were just absolutely delighted. Like, and I suppose if you were to take it out of context, you'd be like, why are they celebrating so much a group match? But like, we were absolutely over the moon, and we were all chatting away after the match on about the weekend and stuff, and then like you go from that to then a few days later being told you're actually out of it. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and I guess, Rory, the worst part about this is like it's gone now. The weekend has happened, the semi-finals and final have happened, and there's actually nothing that's going to give you guys a sense of justice in this.
Yeah, well, like we're just saying, and we spoke to the players again and said, like, this isn't over from our point of view. We're not going to stop until we get the answers the players seek. Like, they've 3 questions that were put up on social media that still haven't been answered. And if it means the next team that comes through next year, well, whatever college it is, that this will never happen to another team again, is probably our aim from now on. Unfortunately for us, it seems like that, as Siobhán said, that was the end of the road for the team, and to happen in such circumstances is appalling. So we're just hoping that it won't happen. If we can find out exactly what happened and make it public as to what went on, you know, we might be able to save another team, be it college or county or the next team that has an issue with the Camogie Association from, you know, ending up like we did maybe. Just as well, Ger, I think the saddest part of the whole thing was after the semi-final and we were up, and as you might have seen, the girls did a dignified protest, not out of respect for the 2 teams that were playing at the time, UCC and DCA, out of respect for the players. But when that final whistle went at the end of extra time and we were walking back to the bus, I think it kind of dawned, you could just see like heads dropping, and they realised like that the semi-final was over, that they thought they'd all be playing in. And, you know, for me, like that was probably the kind of the heartbreaking moment of the whole thing, that was it, like that was the final chance for them basically.
The thing is, Rory, if this happened in a Division 3 under 10 football match, you'd be shocked that the wrong score was sent in to the county board. But this is like the Premier 3rd level competition. It's not even the 2nd division of it, it's the top division. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And the funny thing as well, like with the Ashbourne Cup, is, as we were saying, it's held in such prestige, and the amount of effort that players are putting in. Like, we have girls then who are on college placements. One girl this week is getting buses up and down from Waterford for training after she was on her work placement. You know, this is the kind of efforts that they're coming in. And then to see like the standards they set and ask of each other, to see them let down by standards elsewhere, you know, is, you know, it's gut-wrenching really.
Well, listen, thanks to both of you for making the time, for sharing your story and doing it so well this morning. Siobhán McGrath, joint captain of UL, and Ruairi Walsh, the manager of the UL Camogie team in the Ashbourne Cup. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Ger. Thanks, Shane.
We will, of course, ask the CCAO for a comment on this and try and get to the very bottom of what happened. But, like, you know, unfortunately, there's not going to be any restorative justice for them.